The best possible food that you could feed your body are raw foods, raw and living foods. A raw food is a food that has not been cooked or heated above 115 degrees, depending on the food. If a food lives in a tropical environment, it could withstand a little bit more heat than something like kale or broccoli that grows in a cold environment. Living foods are picked within 24 to 48 hours directly off the plant. And after they're living and like you get them in the grocery store, then they're just raw. But all these raw and living foods have a life force energy. The living foods obviously have a much bigger one, while the raw foods is smaller, but still it's there. If you look at Kirlian photography, which shows an energy field that the eye cannot perceive, it's basically an aura, you'll see that cooked foods have a less bright aura and a dimmer glow than the raw foods. If you cook it only a little bit, there will still be a glow. So try to keep your vegetables, like I still eat cooked foods, but when I do eat cooked vegetables, I try to cook them as little as possible to keep that raw factor, keep that life force factor intact. Not only do raw foods have a greater life force, but they're easier to digest. They have living enzymes in them. They break down really easily in our stomachs. The proteins and the fats haven't been altered in the heat, so they can coagulate in the heat, and that can actually be really damaging for your stomach and really hard for your body to digest. So they're really easy on the digestion. They feed your cells the best because when you cook food, it destroys nutrients, certain nutrients that are inside of all the water-soluble vitamins. Once the food is heated to a certain temperature, something around 118 degrees, the enzymes and the nutrients within the food are destroyed. The water-soluble vitamins are all destroyed. They all evaporate with the water in the food, and then you don't get them when you're eating them. So you're eating all this broccoli thinking that you're getting certain nutrients, but you're not, because you've cooked it out. So that's why raw foods are really, really important. They are nature's perfect food. Nature knows what to give us. Nature knows what to feed us. Nature doesn't, like, rice has to be cooked. Certain potatoes have to be cooked. You can eat sweet potato raw, but if you're just out in the wild, if you were just an animal out in the wild and you see some strawberries, you'd eat some strawberries. You'd eat some tender leafy greens. If we had a cleansed palate, we'd be eating greens and raw greens and enjoying them much more like the monkeys do, eating 50% fruit and 50% greens. We'd all be living in a place that provided that for us. Obviously out here where I live right now, I can't just go living off of fruit and greens out in the wild. There are a lot of greens that grow. If I was knowledgeable and did a lot of work, because it's dry out here, I could find it. But if we were living by nature before humans took over and left so far away from what was natural for us and started eating crazy processed things and building these houses and destroying the planet, if we went back to what was natural for us, we would be living in these environments, have a smaller population, and eating raw foods. Like 50% fruit and 50% greens is on average about what like the monkeys eat. We've hybrid vegetables to make them like cauliflower and broccoli and things like that, so that doesn't really appear in the wild, but they're still really good for you. It's a hybrid version of, I'm pretty sure broccoli is like a hybrid version of kale or something along the, like cabbage is similar to kale. They just are a wild sort of kale. They've bred it into something that is more palatable to us, something that we enjoy eating a little bit more. But we are the only species on the planet that cooks their food. We are also probably the only species that eats foods that we are not supposed to eat, all associated with that together. Us eating animal products, we're not supposed to eat that, and that's why we are the only species experiencing so many diseases and killing off our population, not in a natural way, but in a really sick, sad, too early, or a suffering style. It shouldn't happen. If we were eating the diets that we were supposed to be eating, this wouldn't be happening to our population. And raw foods is the perfect diet. I've been raw for a little while, but when I was eating raw, I was eating really high fat and it didn't really work out for me. So I eat as much raw as I can whenever it's available. I'm also kind of like broke when it comes to money, and eating raw can be very, very expensive if you're not growing all of your own food or in a place that provides that. So right now I eat cooked foods. I eat a lot of cooked foods, but I love to incorporate more raw whenever I can, and eventually I hope to go all raw again, because I did feel amazing on it, even though I was eating high fat and did have a lot of those symptoms from eating that way, and eventually it caught up with me. But I could still feel the difference between eating all these so much produce, so much raw fresh produce. That's going to be the staple of your diet, not just rice, which is good for you but not nearly as good as fresh fruits and vegetables, you know, not by a long shot. You all know that fruits and vegetables are good for you, so just eating them raw is always going to be better. Eat more raw, eat as much raw as you can, find some all raw recipes, try raw till 4 style diet so you get 2 raw meals in a day. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can incorporate it more into your lifestyle. Just always be moving forward and enjoy your life, enjoy your food, and eat raw. Thanks for watching.